What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven here with your afternoon snap, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top 4 of this week's Community Gaming SEA Open Deck List event, and we're kicking things off in 4th place with Div's Darkhawk list. And this is a really cool Darkhawk list. Something that I've been thinking since Darkhawk was nerfed down to a 5/4 is you don't really have to play Zabu in the list anymore. There are some other strong 4-cost cards in this list with Sentry and Cull, but previously Darkhawk and Zabu were neck and neck, tight as thieves, I guess I should say. And that's partially because both Darkhawk and Rockslide were 4-cost cards. Well, now neither of them are. So let's cut Zabu from the deck and let's just try to curve out, which is something that Marvel Snap decks have not really been doing for a little bit. But one reason that they might want to consider just curving out is because Mobius is really good right now at stopping a lot of different synergies that are currently in the game. And this deck says, I'm not really going to get hosed by Mobius, and also I'm going to play Mobius myself. Now, this deck is playing Skaar, and you can definitely make Skaar cheaper in this deck with Cull, Sentry, and Darkhawk. However, for the most part, this deck is at least allowing itself the opportunity to play fair and just play a 1-cost card, then a 2-cost card, then 3, 4, 5, and usually I would say you probably never just want to play Skaar by itself on the final turn, but you're looking to either play a 4-cost Skaar alongside one of your 2-cost cards, or potentially like throwing the demon in there from the hood. One cool thing, so armor is obviously to protect some of your bigger cards here from Shang-Chi. This is a deck that often has priority, especially because Annihilus on turn 5 almost always gives you priority. So throwing down armor plus Cull Obsidian, for instance, on the final turn of the game is really good because you'll play armor with priority, and that will allow you to stop potential Shang-Chis that are coming at you. But if you've played Cull Obsidian, Sentry, or Darkhawk that you can protect from Shang-Chi, then an often seen final play of the game is going to be Skaar plus armor. Skaar to flip a location in your favor, and armor to lock down a location where your opponent might potentially Shang-Chi. So overall, I think that this deck is really cool. It's pretty straightforward, and I'm also happy to see Scarlet Witch, which I think is potentially just an underplayed card, also getting some love. I've been playing a lot of Thanos. Reality Stone is pretty insane. Scarlet Witch, twice the cost, but can still just win games. And in this deck, it is a card that can curve out, where you might not necessarily have the room to fit like Legion or something on the curve. Your turns 3, 4, 5, and 6 are more spoken for. I think that Scarlet Witch could also potentially be Quake though, because Quake is pretty cheap on the curve. And then of course there's also always Jeff, which can win games just like Scarlet Witch in many of the same ways. But happy to see Scarlet Witch nonetheless. One thing, so I haven't really talked too much about Echo. Echo is just really good at shutting down all of the Miss Marvel shenanigans that are going on. And one other thing that I did kind of want to mention is that another way that you could stop Shang-Chi is with Cosmo. I think that this deck is basically saying that they don't think that Cosmo is really worth it right now, but Cosmo is kind of interesting because it stops Shang-Chi and also stops the Sentry if you don't have Annihilus. So that would give you some potential other play lines. But overall, I do really like this archetype from Div here, and I think it's a real contender. We looked last week at a deck that played a bunch of 4/5s alongside Skaar, and this I think is like another evolution of that. Now incorporating the Darkhawk package, which is still pretty strong, and then just making room for the current tech for what people are playing this week. In 3rd place, we have Primus 19 playing Loki again. We're going to see Mobius, and we can see in this deck, Mobius shuts down 3 of the cards, Loki, Zabu, and Quinjet. So obviously a very, very important card in the meta. And after that, we can see that Primus is playing a few different cards that allow you to generate, and then Loki, and then just kind of some good stuff cards to go along with Zabu in the form of Shang-Chi and Miss Marvel, then Devil Dinosaur at the top of the curve, and as well as a Shadow King there to kind of complement the Shang-Chi in case you are not Lokiing. This deck is mostly focused on Lokiing your opponent, with some small potentials to do some other things by generating some cards with Quinjet. In second place, we have Gani Sabira with Thanos Blob. This list harkens back to December of last year when Blob first came out and cuts the newly nerfed Lockjaw. Lockjaw definitely still playable, but wasn't playable enough for Gani, and they are just playing a classic list here, kind of a curve out-ish version of Thanos with Psylocke and Reality Stone, allowing you the ability to curve into a variety of different 5-cost cards. Then you've got Iron Lad in the mix as well, and Mobius, because it's really good right now. As I have said multiple times already, Mobius just a key player in the current metagame. We can also see the combination of both Professor X and Alioth, which are obviously a really good combo in allowing your Alioth to be a little bit more consistent after you've locked down a location with the Professor. All in all, this is still a really solid list, and it's interesting to see a Blob Thanos list. Basically, I mean, this is Scarless, this is Lockjawless, this is just classic Blob Thanos that we haven't seen for a few months, but still good enough to get you second place in a tournament. But in first place, taking the #1 spot, we've got Denny Praise 11 here on Loki as well. A slightly different Loki list though, not really that focused on card generation. For card generation here, we've got Agent Coulson and Snowguard, both of the cards that generate 2 cards. That is definitely worth noting. None of the single card generator options. And then the rest of it, I mean, there's a pretty big Zabu package in here with Shang-Chi, Miss Marvel, and then Iron Lad, in addition to the Loki, but then just a lot of good cards. Jeff, because it's a good card. Gladiator, because it's a bunch of power, and Alioth to grab surprising wins. I think that Shang-Chi and Alioth are kind of 2 sides of the same coin. I've said that a lot, but they're just really powerful options to have at your disposal, especially in Conquest matchups, where you're going to play multiple games and eventually, like, either Shang-Chi or Alioth is going to be good in your deck. So just like, I want both of them. I want access to whichever one is going to be good. And that's something that a Loki deck can really afford to do. You can, I mean, it's hard to call Shang-Chi and Alioth tech cards. They are very catch-all answers to a variety of different threats. But if they're not good enough, and my camera just went off, but this video is almost over, if they're not good enough, you just get to Loki them and send them out of there. And I think that that just makes Loki a really great choice for including a little bit more tech. We've seen Rogue in the past in Loki lists as well for similar reasons. But for today, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.